Everyone knows you're a world-famous wrestler. A lot of people who are big fans of you as a wrestler know that you're a musician. When did you start playing versus being a wrestler and training to be a wrestler?
I actually started playing bass guitar before I became a wrestler, before I began training pro wrestling. I got my first bass guitar when I was 17, 18, right after graduating high school, and my grandfather had given it to me, and I basically taught myself how to play, and became, started playing it for a couple years, and started to get decent at it, and then moved to Massachusetts to train to become a wrestler, and as I got busier wrestling, bass guitar was the first thing to kind of take the back seat. I always played it, but it would be a lot longer increments of time between when I play it, but I always did play it. And that was almost 22 years ago now. So now, fast forward several years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, me and some other buddies who had always been musicians started jamming, and I ended up started playing a lot more and more in the free time I had, and ended up joining 2 bands, and was kind of right back into the music scene. And now it's kind of something I could do on the side that I'm very passionate about. It's not pro wrestling, but very relatable to pro wrestling. So yeah, I'm trying to enjoy the best of both worlds. Chris Jericho set the bar pretty high in terms of being a top-notch wrestler and a top-notch musician, which he is both of those. Mm-hmm. So I'm just, I'm like the JV version of Jericho, just trying to keep it alive, man.
And then, what were the gateway artists that made you want to pick up a guitar in the first place?
100% Guns N' Roses was my gateway band into the world of rock and heavy metal. I was raised in a family where I was always listening to music. My dad constantly was playing the Rolling Stones and the Beatles and Jethro Tull and Frank Zappa. My mom was listening to Elvis and Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson, and Patsy Cline. And just so I had all rock and country and classic rock, even some blues. And so as I got older, 5th grade, I discovered Guns N' Roses and never looked back. And through Guns N' Roses, a friend of mine who was a young metalhead at the time introduced me to Metallica. Metallica is my favorite band ever. And so through Metallica, I discovered their back catalog. I discovered a lot of early Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden and Blue Oyster Cult, and Judas Priest, and just you name it, and the whole new wave of British heavy metal. And just that was so 100% Guns N' Roses was my gateway band into the world of rock and metal.
Now, I'm a big Chinese democracy guy. Are you?
I'm a Chinese democracy guy. I won't say I'm a big Chinese democracy guy. I enjoyed the record. I, as a Guns N' Roses loyalist, was very much looking forward to it, and was kind of bummed that we had to wait that long. But I really enjoyed it, and actually I got to see them a couple years ago, and the fact that they play a couple of the songs from that album was really cool to see, like Slash and Duff playing those songs. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't think it was the success it should have been or could have been, but yeah.
And then it seems to me like 75% of wrestlers who are into music love the Misfits. Are you in that camp too?
I'm a Danzig. I'm more of a Danzig guy than I am a Misfits guy. I really got into Danzig and Rollins Band in high school.
Rollins Band. The Wait album?
One of my all-time favorite albums is the Wait album. So I kind of went into the back catalog of Misfits stuff through Glenn Danzig, but I actually preferred Danzig stuff and Sam Hain stuff. And for my high school, I was Rollins Band and Danzig were 2 of my absolute favorites. So yeah, I'm maybe a novice Misfits guy, but I enjoy some of their stuff. But yeah, I'm more of a Danzig guy. It's more that's straightforward metal as opposed to kind of like the punk.
Sure, and then bring it back to you here. Gutter Candy, I know, is your band. What's coming up for you in 2020 on the musical end?
Well, we usually play a couple local gigs every month. We actually got a gig coming up at the Whiskey in Hollywood, which is a real famous venue. We're playing there. We're opening for a band called Metalachi, which if you ever heard of them, it's
the metal mariachi band.
Heavy metal mariachi band. Yeah. We've played with those guys before, and they're great musicians. They're great showmen, great entertainers. So we're opening up for them at the Whiskey, which is kind of a bucket list thing for me, being an old rock and roll and metalhead. Getting to play at that venue is cool. So, we try to play as often as we can. My schedule dictates a lot of that. I'm very busy, and so we actually can't do as many gigs as I would like to, just because pro wrestling is what pays my bills, and that's my first love. But we're trying to get out there and gig as much as we can. We're working on putting a proper album out with 8 songs, originals, because we do play originals as well. So hopefully we'll get a lot more of that accomplished this year.
And do you have any endorsements, or is that something that's in the works?
Nothing yet. I mean, certainly something we'd all be open to. Certainly something I would be open to as a bass player that plays Schecter basses, and I've been.
I see Guild bass right there.
Yeah, I'm here in the artist lounge. Yeah, I'm playing this very nice Guild acoustic bass. If you're listening, representatives from Guild.
We'll tag them in the social media.
I really love the tone of this acoustic bass you're playing here. I would happily play it on stage live with Gutter Candy. Yeah, so that's just. We're very much just we're still a bar band. We're just a rock and roll band. You'll see it at a club or a dive bar, but we love it. We have fun. We've played some sizable gigs, but we're having fun. I'm trying to use the little celebrity I have to help get those guys recognized, because they're all great musicians and guys that have worked really hard trying to make music something more than just a hobby.
We saw you on the cruise last year.
Yeah.
How does this cruise compare to last year, and any highlights from this one?
This one is, I think the fans are even more laid back. I know a lot of wrestlers and musicians had trepidations that fans would be mobbing them, and that's not the case at all. We're all just passengers on this thing. And since there's a lot of repeat cruise goers, a lot of people just saw us last year, so it's almost like we're old hat. So it's just kind of, what stood out for me is obviously taping Dynamite live from the cruise was really cool. Band-wise, I saw this band Rubik's Cube last night, who I just saw you talking to, were just outstanding. So good. And before that, the night before, I watched Killer Queens, which is the all-female Queen tribute.
They were great,
just Dynamite. Very good, very good. And then Jericho has played two great shows, and he pulled Marco's stunt up there and sang Sunglasses at Night. So for me, it's the wrestling's one thing, but for me, I like to come in this and take in the music. I get to see wrestling live every week.
Yeah,
I get to see the best wrestling in the world live every week. It's not every week I get to see a Fozzy concert, or I get to see, like last year, a Corey Taylor acoustic set,
that was great,
or Killer Queens, or Rubik's Cube, or Light the Torch. It's or
really Kick-Axe.
Cool. Or Kick-Axe, yeah, and I haven't seen Kick-Axe yet, so I gotta remedy that. So
tonight,
so for
midnight.
for me, the highlight is watching Jericho's cover set last night, and just discovering new music and making new friends. Making new friends in the music world is always cool too.
So in closing, Frankie, any last words for the kids?
The kids, yes, don't become a pro wrestler or a musician. Do every other thing on earth except for those two things. For the kids, I'm going to assume you mean the fans that have supported us. That without you guys, there would be no me, both in the music world and the wrestling world. And keep pro wrestling alive, and keep listening to music in its purest form. Even if you just listen to it digital, just keep listening to music, because music is my life's blood, and I know there's a lot of people out there that are like that. So please keep buying physical music too, because that's also very important to musicians and artists to generate revenue from that. And thanks for supporting any way you have.